I shouldn't have been sipping into it and smoking the ganj here, but I got to go with Justin Fields, man. A bad performance yesterday, which is pretty emblematic of the Jets quarterback situation of the last, I don't know, 60 years or so. All right, everybody, welcome back. As always, I am your party host, Joe Rivera, and boom, welcome back. And I want to start today's episode, as we always do, with some bad quarterback performances. But before we get there, boom, is there anybody you need to mention anything to for, having a good performance this past weekend after, burying him, throwing the dirt on him last week?
Russell Wilson does not deserve to touch a football for the rest of his career. Yeah, look, Joe, when you're in the takes business, it's not always going to go well for you in the looking smart department, and Russell Wilson made sure of that on Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys. 450 passing yards for Russ. Pretty great performance by him, but I do want to know, despite the fact that he was 7 of 9 for 264 passing yards on throws of 20 or more yards, it's the most in the next gen stats era since 2016. He's out here throwing for the fourth most yards in Giants history. He's on lists with Y.A. Tittle and Eli Manning and Phil Simms. But let's look at the opponent there for a second, Joe. The Dallas Cowboys secondary leaves a lot to be desired unless Russ happens to be throwing an essentially game-ending interception in overtime to an absolute phantom target, and it lands perfectly in Donovan Wilson's hands like a punt, or he's trying to fumble the ball away earlier in overtime. A pass rush that is basically so non-existent, they had to sign Jadeveon Clowney off the street right as the game ended, according to Jerry Jones. So, given all that, I want to semi-apologize to Russ. I think the real apology is our social producers for really cutting it up in a way that made it look like it was awesome. Great clip. But, this is the game that we play. And, Russ got the best of me in week 2, so we'll see how it goes for week 3. So I'm kind of sorry, Russell Wilson.
I think the real apology goes to Giants fans for losing another heartbreaker like that. And not only lose a heartbreaker like that, but to lose it to the Dallas Cowboys, who just they couldn't stop a toddler yesterday. It was bad. It was just a bad look. And, you figure this is the byproduct of trading away a Micah Parsons, right? I mean, he's a guy who's been elite through his first pair of games. I know he didn't play much week 1, but he's been elite through a true game wrecker in every sense of the word, and he's young, and that's why you pay guys like that, so you don't have performances like that yesterday. So, and listen, it took Brandon Aubrey to kick a 60-plus yard field goal to tie. So a lot of things had to break for Dallas to get that win yesterday. I don't think you really owe Russ an apology. I mean, it was, this, Boom, in the NFL, there are games that certain teams win, and then there are games that, maybe that team just gives it away, right? Like you're not winning every game. The other team is losing the game for you, so to speak. So I don't think there's any apology to be had, Boom. I'm gonna have your back on that. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for a little segment we like to call Monday Morning Quarterback. And Boom, we usually poke fun at quarterbacks a little bit here for less than stellar performances, but an actually somber note to start this segment today. So why don't you go ahead and give your Monday morning quarterback performance from yesterday?
Yeah, I thought about going with Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers, who woof, or maybe even Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears, double woof, but Joe Burrow has my sympathy this morning, man. What a tough break for Joe. News comes out that he's going for surgery and out probably around 3 months. That puts them coming back around mid-December. We were just looking it up, week 15 range, with Baltimore visiting Cincinnati on December 14th. So could that be a target date for him? Are the Bengals going to be able to keep it afloat that long with Jake Browning as the quarterback if they don't bring in anybody else? And it's kind of looking like he is going to be the guy there. I know they won yesterday. Getting off to a big start was really important for them this year. Having two wins banked, start 2-0 is a good thing for this franchise, especially as they enter the Jake Browning portion of this season. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be enough for them when it comes down to it, because that a lot of this hinges on Joe Burrow being an MVP-esque candidate. Their success does. So yeah, it's not good for the Bengals. It's not good for Joe, who's really kind of dealt with a bunch of injuries since he's been in the NFL. He lost a lot of his rookie season to that really bad knee injury. 2023 was a really weird year with the calf. He was getting carted off during training camp, and the start of that season was super rocky, and he hurts his wrist on Thursday Night Football in November of that year. This is the rest of the season, and now you have this injury, which is going to cost him a chunk of 2025 after playing like an MVP in 2024. So, yeah, that's my Monday morning, if you will. So, Joe, who are we mourning on your side this morning?
Yeah, so before we move on to my quarterback here, I mean it's a tough to your point, Boom. It's a terrible break for Joe and the Bengals here. I mean, when you look at some of the options that are out there, you're talking about trade candidates. Kirk Cousins is his name is going to be out there. That's probably not realistic given the contract. Jameis Winston's name is out there, but we know who Jameis is, right? Like he's going to be a fun watch, but after that, who are you talking about? I mean, signing a Desmond Ritter or a Taylor Heineke or like, I mean, you just don't replace a Joe Burrow is the point. Like whether that's with Jake Browning or whoever, right? There's certain guys in the NFL you just can't replace, and we know that there are barely 32 good enough starting quarterbacks, right? So to expect anybody else to come in here, Boom, is it's just not a realistic expectation in my opinion. So again, it's a worthy choice for Joe. It stinks for him in a year that after he finished red hot last year and he put the Bengals on his back last year. And, if they do make the playoffs, we're talking potentially MVP for Burrow last year. So it's a tough look for them. So for my Monday morning quarterback, and you gave him a little bit of credit last week, so I'm a little upset with you for that because I should have known better. You had me drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit, but it's got to be Justin Fields, man. I mean, 3 completions on 11 attempts and 20-something yards. I mean, this is who he is at this point. And I know the Jets are far from a finished product, but when you're on your 4th team in as many years, in 5 years, whatever it is, third team in 4 years, it's just not, we know what he is at this point as a passer, right? And that's not to say that he's not a dynamic athlete, because he is when we saw it yesterday. And that's not to say he was the Jets leading rusher yesterday. And that's not to say that he doesn't have the physical attributes, which he does. He's got a big arm. He's athletic, he's mobile. We know all these things, but when it comes down to it, is he the guy who's going to win you the game with his arm? Probably not. And we've seen it. And when the Steelers benched Justin Fields last year and went to Russell Wilson, I mean, what else did we need to see, really? So my Monday morning quarterback, and again, I shouldn't have been sipping into it and smoking the ganj here, but I got to go with Justin Fields, man. A bad performance yesterday, which is pretty emblematic of the Jets quarterback situation of the last, 60 years or so.
Week 2 is always a bit of a crash back to reality for some of these week 1 performances, but he and his agent will always be able to play that tape in every offseason discussion they have for the rest of his career. So they always got that.
All right, everybody. So it's week 2 in the NFL. And, as is the case with all NFL fans, you have a tendency of overreacting a little bit when things don't necessarily go the way we expect. So our colleague over at USA Today Sports, Jacob Kamiker, put together his week 2 overreactions. So we're going to be quick. We're going to go through these 5 overreactions, Boom. And you're going to tell me which of these is an overreaction or which one is not. So let's kick it off with this one. The Bengals are toast without Joe Burrow. Is that an overreaction?
It's not an overreaction because Joe Burrow is the linchpin of this offense, obviously. There's a reason why he's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. He plays like an MVP when he's on the field. There's a reason why he was the shadow GM during the offseason, advocating for his receivers to get paid. But, yeah, there's a reason why the great offensive coach Tom Moore once said, we don't practice bleep because, it's not worth it when you don't have your star quarterback in there. So, yeah, not an overreaction.
Moving on, the 49ers will be fine with Mac Jones. Is that an overreaction?
Definitely an overreaction. The opponent was the New Orleans Saints. I got to see a lot more from Mac Jones before I'm buying stock in him again.
I will say this. Remember not too long ago when Mac Jones was coming out of college, he was supposedly a target of Kyle Shanahan, according to Chris Sims. So, I mean, who knows if that's ends up being a match made in heaven. But, I think we've seen enough from Mac to know one way or the other. All right, moving on. Caleb Williams is the worst quarterback of the 2024 draft class. Is that an overreaction?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with overreaction for now. Did you watch the Sunday night football game by any chance? I was not impressed with either quarterback's play. It's gonna be a little bit for that class to develop, I think, and I still have faith in Caleb's raw ability there. So I'm not willing to go there just yet with it.
Yeah, Bo Nix hasn't had a great showing either. I mean, it's still early, right? Sometimes you got to give these guys a little bit of time. So I'm not ready to quite go there with Caleb yet. And he's got some competition for worst as it currently sits. So I think we can wait. All right, next, moving on. Russell Wilson is back to cooking. Is Russ cooking again? Is that an overreaction, Boom?
Totally an overreaction. We know who the opponent was yesterday. We talked about it a bunch. Good for Russ for dialing it back on the accuracy meter and really delivering those moon balls. When that moon ball's moonballing, it's a lot of fun to watch, but consistency, no chance.
All right, Boom. And last but not least, is this an overreaction? The Chiefs are not legitimate Super Bowl contenders.
Definitely an overreaction as long as they have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid still cooking over there. I think that they're going to be okay. And again, it's going to be a little bit of a feeling out process for this Chiefs team. There's definitely a Super Bowl hangover, but I'm giving them until Halloween in my book.
Over 0-2 for the first time since 2014 without Rashee Rice. Xavier Worthy still kind of a question mark for week 3. I mean, those are tough waters to wade, but I think Patrick Mahomes is a pretty good quarterback. So I'm going to go overreaction there. Until these guys are dead and buried in the AFC West, I'm just not buying into any of the hype there.
And Joe, speaking of the Chiefs, they obviously lost that Super Bowl rematch to the Eagles yesterday, 20-17. But one of the big discussions coming out of that is, as usual, the tush push. Fox's Dean Blandino saying during the broadcast that he's done with the tush push. It's way too hard to officiate. A lot of social media sleuths online tracking penalties, pre-snap penalties by the Eagles, some false starts, some lining up offsides. What's your takeaway, I guess, when it comes to the discussion here on the tush push?
Man, I'm with Dean. I'm just totally over the tush push, man. I mean, listen, the NFL is all about making uneventful plays and changing them or taking them out. Like that's exactly what they did with the extra point, right? That's what they're trying to do with kickoffs. That's like, so to have this play, which is an automatic, at least when the Eagles run it, and to keep it in the game, like I'm just tired of seeing it. And I understand that, the whole idea behind it is, oh, well, if you don't like it, then you should try and stop it or do a better job of stopping it. And other teams have tried to mimic it and hasn't worked out well. But I gotta be honest with you, I'm just tired of seeing it. It's for me, it sucks the drama out of a game. It just takes everything out of a moment, a critical moment where you don't always see that. And listen, teams will convert on fourth and short more times than not if you have a pretty good running back and at least a decent offensive line. But with the tush push, to Dean's point, it seems hard to officiate. I wouldn't know. I'm not a zebra, but I just with the calls that they seem to miss yesterday and the lack of drama that goes into the play, I'm pretty over it. So I'm with Dean. I support Dean in his opinion here. And who would know better than Dean, right?
Exactly. I think this week and that game was a pretty watershed moment for the play. Like, I've never really bought into the player safety aspect of it. I think it's a pretty safe play. So I've never been a fan of that argument. But just watching it yesterday, man, like the Eagles deserve to run something that they are built for, right? Like they deserved to reap the benefits of that play. But when you strip it down to something that's like almost a mockery of it, of its original intent, then it ruins it. Like you were just talking about from a viewer experience, from just an enjoying football experience. So yeah, I think this is the point where the refs have to do something. You got guys crawling on the ground. You have the center's head a full yard above the ball. Like it's tough watch. And at that point, I think this is where the NFL sends out a memo during the week, and that play is going to be pretty heavily scrutinized, I would say, over the next couple of weeks for whichever ref crew gets the Eagles.
And I'll say this, Boom. I mean, listen, this isn't necessarily an Eagles problem. I mean, NFL teams will find any which way to gain some kind of edge, right? So it's not an exclusive Eagles thing. It's just the most apparent. It's the most obvious. And again, is the Eagles are kind of suffering from success here, DJ Colin. And I think it's unfair to put them front center poster boys for this, but at the same time, as a viewer, just as a fan, like there's just nothing enjoyable about it anymore. And remember, there are fans of the Eagles, and then there are fans of the other 31 NFL franchises, right? And I think the other 31, most of them at least, would say, I think it's probably time to move on from the tush push. All right, Boom. We want to get on a winning streak here. You're 0-1 your Monday Night Football picks so far this year, but we got a doubleheader tonight, so we can get things right in a hurry, and that's what we want to see. So we got Texans and Bucks. Who you like tonight in the first of the doubleheader?
Yeah, what a treat to wake up on Monday morning and have two games left still this week. It's always always a great thing to feel when you're waking up after a long Sunday. But yeah, I got the Bucks tonight. Matchup of the two number 4 seeds in their respective conferences last year. And I just like the Bucks roster more at this point is really the biggest thing for me, especially on offense. I have a lot more trust in Baker Mayfield and his group of weapons compared to CJ Stroud and whatever they got going on there, especially with the Texans offensive line, which I know we've talked about in the past. So yeah, I'll take the Bucks tonight, even though Houston's defense is looking pretty good.
I'm with you, Boom. I just like the Bucks roster more. I think sometimes it just boils down to as simple as that, right? Like CJ Stroud is good. We know this. D'Amico Ryan's a pretty good head coach. We know this, but I just don't trust. I don't trust the Texans roster enough at this point. I don't trust the offensive line. To your point, defense is good, but the Bucks it looks like the Bucks are a sneaky Super Bowl contender if we can go there. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. All right, and we also got closing out the doubleheader tonight. We have the Chargers and the Raiders. So we got an AFC West battle to close out week 2. Boom. Who you got in that matchup?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chargers just because I buy a 2-0 start from them a little bit more than the Raiders. But Pete Carroll versus Jim Harbaugh. This is the treat that we've been looking forward to, right? For ever since Carroll took that Vegas Raiders job. So I'm excited for it. I expect a lot of points in this one, just because I'm not high on the Raiders D, and I also think that Geno Smith is still slinging it pretty good. So I expect points, but I have Chargers victory there.
Yeah, I think the Chargers are gonna take care of the Raiders pretty easily tonight. But I do want to give a big shout out, a big happy birthday to one Pete Carroll. So we'll see if the team rallies around their head coach. 74 September 15th. So he's 74 years old. The oldest coach in football. Just a lively spirit though. You wouldn't think he's a day over 24, right? This guy. So
I was gonna
but I
say,
do
guy moves like he's 54.
yeah,
He's
there
a
you go.
try guy.
Yeah, but you just see him throwing a football. I love that. Guys, he's really into it. And, you love Pete Carroll. He's one of the most colorful characters in NFL history and coaching history, really. So, but I think Jim Harbaugh gives him a big ol' he opens up that gift box and there's just a fist inside of it. So I like the Chargers tonight, Monday Night Football.